Board of Appeals meeting for December 19th. Like to,
It's back. I'm sorry.
okay, let's start out by approving just a few bills. Can I get a motion to approve the bills as listed in the agenda for peer review fees for 409 South Street?
Motion to approve?
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, moving on to our first and only public hearing for this evening. This is a continuation from the October 24th and November 28th meeting. This is to hear the appeal of 701, 713 Boston Turnpike, Bach Shrewsbury Worcester LLC, 111 Most Street, Norwood, Mass. This is for a special permit to Section 6, Table 1, to locate a sales room for automobiles and a garage and repair shop, and a variance to Section 7, Table 2, to park inventory and display vehicles with a non-conforming setback. The public hearing for 70173 is Boston Turnpike is a continuation of a public hearing. Would the applicant like to provide any updates or any action since our previous hearing, please?
Thank you to the chair, members of the board, thank you for having us back, and I know this is a special meeting, and I'm sorry to take away from your Christmas holiday evenings, but that being said, thank you. Since our last meeting, we have started with the planning board on December 1st. There was considerable discussion at the planning board about this previous meeting as well. We have had our initial meeting with the DOT personnel relative to the intersection at South Street and Route 9 and mitigation past, present, and future. We got a pretty decent handle on what's going to be required in terms of the E&F, the environmental notification form for that particular intersection relative to this proposal, which one of the DOT gentlemen said he's never seen a car dealership trigger anything beyond the initial E&F. We have been reviewing various points that we've listened to with regard to the South Street intersection. And we have given you, I believe, through Ms. McAllister, the responses of our traffic engineer to the peer review that you had. The other answers that you did not get on that response, I would note that our engineer, Patrick Healy, who unfortunately had a conflict tonight, he has agreed that he would include those items on the plans that were requested. So I don't think there was one thing that he said he wouldn't include. So I think he was comfortable with the suggestions. So with that, I know that we continued it for the purposes of discussion of the traffic. We asked our traffic engineer to come back in case you had any particular questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McAllister, would you like to review the draft decisions?
Yeah. So I am sharing it right now, and my apologies. I guess the folks see it enough
You want me to pull that down?
and make it a bit bigger. So, hopefully that is big enough. So these are some draft conditions that both the board and the applicant received ahead of time. They've been redlined and edited slightly since both parties have seen it, just incorporating each other's feedback. I can go through each one, if that is, yep.
Please.
Okay. And these were drafted, I'll say, these conditions were read out in the meeting in November. And the planning department did our best to capture the comments made by the board, and they're here. So the first condition is one that captures the fact that we don't have final plans submitted to us to be voted on tonight. And this is something the planning department is comfortable putting in to allow for the final plans to be issued to you as the zoning board following your decision, just to confirm that all of these conditions are met. This is a standard practice in the planning board, so I hope that the applicant is amenable to that.
We are?
The second condition pertains to the hours of operation. Now, the applicant has suggested a 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
6 days a week.
6 days a week. Let me add that here.
That's not for sales, that's just, you asked about repair and service.
Yes. So garage and repair service. The third is our restricted entrance off of South Street. With the red line you can see deleted, we pulled out that language and just basically are using that first condition to cover the deleted section there. Number 4, I anticipate there being some discussion on. I know that there was some conversation about restricting truck traffic and test drives off of South Street. Now, the applicant, as you may have seen, issued a letter in response saying that it was their understanding, and I suppose they can clarify or confirm, but that section should be removed. That condition should be removed based on their agreement for right in, right out. So just wanted the board to be aware of that, and we can strike that one if the board is in agreement with it. Would you like me to continue or pause?
Can I address that as we go through? Or do you want me just to wait?
Well, what would the board feel would be in,
It'd be helpful to me to have them in real time, so if
Yeah,
you have a
me
response,
too.
I'd rather hear
I
it
would
now.
think that too.
Okay, so backing up, I'm not sure what those changes are to what's now 4. In terms of the no traffic on South, no truck traffic on South Street, we still would like to see a right turnout for our delivery trucks on South Street.
Right turnout.
So that they can get back to Route 9 and then 495. We suggested in my response to Rowan that we would restrict, because my client owns the trucks and employs the drivers, that we would restrict those times. For instance, and I'll just suggest to you that there would be no truck entrances or exits, no exits during the hours of 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 at night. That way we don't hit any of the heavy traffic times that were a concern for the board members. With respect to the access on South Street for the test drives, we said we wouldn't do test drives, and I don't have any problem with that on coming in and out of South Street. That's something that we've said from day one. So sorry for the misunderstanding. I don't think we've ever said we were going to do anything but test drives in and out from Route 9, the Route 9 entrance and exit.
Through the chair, a question.
sure.
On the no truck traffic, would the applicant be amenable to having that sign and then posting the hours except for from such and such hour to such and such hour?
Sure.
Okay. Because I agree, I don't think that would be an issue if it's in the off hours time to take the right, and it just makes sense in terms of where they're trying to go. So I don't see an issue with that personally.
Just, Peter, you're suggesting a sign at,
No
With-
no truck traffic except, and then the hours during which you're saying that you'd commit to doing the deliveries.
where do you want the sign?
I would think it'd be.
Oh, as
I
it's
think it would be
currently
at the
there.
exit driveway and
Yeah.
probably facing in, because
Yeah.
that's where trucks would be, but
Right.
they'll also be directing their drivers accordingly,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
And would you mind repeating those hours for me?
6 to 9 a.m., 7 to 9 a.m., and 4 to 6 p.m.
All right.
There's usually, as I understand it, 2 to 3 truck deliveries a week.
Yeah, so minimal, all things considered.
So, pausing on this one is, we can clean up the language a bit, but is the spirit of this condition now in keeping with what is discussed? No truck traffic and no vehicular test drives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, fine
Those
with me.
particular hours.
No
Right.
truck traffic during those hours, right?
As,
She added 7 to 9, 4 to 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
except during the hours of,
Okay, so we would say no truck traffic during the hours of 7 a.m. to
Yeah.
9 a.m. and 4
Oh.
p.m. to 6 p.m. Not except.
oh, I'm sorry, correct.
Yeah, we don't want.
I'm
truck
getting
traffic.
Yeah,
confused.
in other words,
No, I know.
not during rush hour.
Correct,
Yep.
correct.
All right.
Just take the
That should be
accept out.
correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So then, moving on.
Could you hold on one moment?
Yes.
So, final design of South Street, Shawlin.
Should I get rid of test drive and perhaps just say prohibiting such traffic?
So it would be great to see it without the changes, but anyway,
Oh, we can-
yeah, we could flip.
Let's do it.
I'll get rid of the red line. Yeah.
Yeah, because, okay,
Oh,
so, and make
Okay.
sure this is, yeah, I want to make sure it's what I,
So and maybe
Um,
add in the XAM to XPM. Unless you've got, I mean, I
Ah,
probably have.
here.
Yep.
Yep.
It was 7 to
Yeah.
7 a.m.,
7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
6
Yep.
p.m.,
And six-
6 days a week.
Yes,
Okay.
This is Monday through Saturday, I'm assuming.
Yep.
correct.
So put in Monday through Saturday.
okay, so that's good.
Okay.
I think you mean 6 p.m., 6 a.m., not p.m. 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
She had it right.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
I had it right.
7 a.m. to
Yeah.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we've lost in item number 4, which maybe is now in item number 1, I'm not sure,
Mhm.
is that the final design, the access
Oh, right.
to and from South Street shall be designed in a manner which physically discourages, I'll say left in, left out traffic of any kind. So we need to have that somewhere.
That's fine.
That,
I think we know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
and
Yep.
Patrick will be, he's,
I just want to make sure our conditions
Yep.
say it
Reflect
officially.
yeah.
Yep.
So it might be in number 1.
The physical.
Or we
in
could.
number
Just
Or number
physical
4.
restrictions.
It used
Shall
to be in number
restricted.
4.
3 addresses interest and exits on South Street restricted to a right
Okay,
in, right out
great.
design.
So can we, the entrance,
You
I
might-
like how we said physically restricted.
you
Well, I
might
could
wanna
just throw in
might wanna
physically
just add to that,
restricted,
With
yeah.
physical restrictions per engineering or something along those.
Even just
Or,
physically
yeah,
restricted.
The entrance and exit on South Street shall be physically restricted to right in, right only
I
design.
know it means it, but I really
Okay,
Yep.
it
makes
That makes
sense.
sense.
liked us
Doesn't hurt.
saying that before,
Yeah.
so, okay, then that's great.
Okay.
We can move on to number 5.
So number 5, I believe this was discussed in the previous hearings. No outdoor speakers to be playing. Now I'm capturing it as ambient music or advertisements.
And it was also PA, right?
No
Like,
PA.
Yeah, so-and-so report to Service Bay 3 or whatever.
Correct.
So I don't know how we address that. Maybe
How about
ambient
outdoor
music, advertisements, or
announcements?
announcements,
I
sure.
think
No outdoor
actually outdoor
speakers.
speakers does it anyway.
Yeah, right, you have no speakers anyway, so.
Okay. All lighting shall be dark sky compliant. That's a standard in the planning board decisions as well. We've
Mhm.
captured it here as well. And the vegetated buffer, as presented in the previous hearing between the stormwater basin on South Street,
That's
Right.
It's
is
20 to
here
that's more
25 feet.
descriptive.
20 to 25 feet.
20 to
Thank you.
25 feet, right.
But you're gonna fix that on the last one. It was just gonna be the north, the
It's on there, northernmost.
northmost, okay.
Yeah.
Northern-
Yeah, it was too broad before. This
Yes.
is much
Yep.
more accurate
Yeah.
to your plan.
So
Okay.
that,
Okay.
that
Actually, Rowan,
captures your
on
comments.
number 4, can we add announcements? Just,
Sure.
can't hurt.
Doesn't
Sure.
hurt. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, you put it in the wrong.
Sorry.
Oh, you got it. Got it.
Okay, dark sky.
All right.
Okay.
I think they're all there.
So, let's throw it to the board to see if we have any specific comments, questions.
Nope, I've got nothing. That seems to capture everything.
I watched the planning board meeting, heard all the other public comment, heard the planning board commentary, and am very comfortable now with these conditions. At first, they were a little bit too restrictive, and now I think this is right in line with what we're looking for as well, so I'm good.
Peter?
This addresses everything I was concerned about. Obviously want to hear public comment as well, but so far so good.
Anne?
I'm comfortable with the conditions.
Good. I am as well. All right. So this is a public hearing. Is there anyone seated that would like to be heard?
Just a quick question.
Could you please stand up and address us? Name and address would be helpful. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Jamie Lapamardo, and I live at 7 Brentwood Drive. Is the physical restriction on the South Street meant to be carried all the way to Route 9? Because if you don't restrict it, you can still get out of that entrance and hop the lane and still cross traffic. So I just need a point of clarification. If it's physically restricted, how far up Route? Because now you're putting some kind of a median or something.
No. So maybe we need to be more descriptive, I guess. But we don't have an updated site plan yet, but it will show the street, and number 1 takes care of this.
So,
The street going to South Street needs to be designed so that it is physically nearly impossible to make a left turn into that or a left turn out of it. Oh, there we go. So,
If I could just,
it's just a draft right now.
it calls for physical restrictions, of what they talk about
Yes.
are putting basically a median in the middle of in the middle of a entrance exit area, so that when you're,
You can't jump the lanes. Yeah.
you see this?
but it's South Street, not Route 9.
Like emergency vehicles. So
Much like,
so
yeah.
they can get over the edge.
Well, they used the
Slanted curve.
granite curbing,
Yeah.
but they raise it high enough so that it's virtually, well, it's really uncomfortable, to say the least. to
You
try
lose
to-
your oil pan at minimum.
Yeah, so, I mean, you basically force traffic to go right
Yes.
and to
Yeah.
turn in right. I mean, there's no left turn out here, because you'd have to be going over the median,
Yeah.
So, for example,
The Route 9 driveway that's on the side.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
and further, for example, if you're familiar with the entrance and exit, the exit really from the Y, that is not designed to be physically restricted.
right?
And it will not be like that.
okay. Good catch.
That's what we did not want.
I've never done it, but I've seen it.
Oh, it happens all the
Who hasn't
time.
Seen it done.
I'm here on behalf of many of my neighbors living on South Street, Floral Street, and Francis Ave, and in particular the Maplewood Complex and Brentwood Drive, all of which either abut or surround the applicant's property. All of whom have significant public safety concerns over the proposed box South Street entrance exit. First, I want to thank the zoning board for the opportunity to express our significant public safety concerns related to this project. Second, we are asking for the permanent elimination of the South Street entrance exit from the proposal, as was formally requested and subsequently detailed in an email communication sent to Attorney Richard Ricker. Lastly, we offer multiple acceptable alternatives, all of which are already in use by nearby dealerships and many other Shrewsbury businesses to address these same public safety concerns. We as Shrewsbury residents and potential future neighbors want this business to succeed and be profitable so they can afford to have well-trained, informed, motivated employees who can fulfill Mr. Clemmy's pledge of the Bach family's intent to act as good neighbors. What we don't want is for an already dangerous intersection to become more dangerous by introducing more oppositional traffic flow. Let me be clear, we are not traffic engineers, so we must rely in part on the Bach traffic study to tell us how unsafe this intersection really is with its above-average crash rating, along with a Mass DOT Commission survey, and finally, MDM peer review. The Mass DOT survey uses field observations to conclude that this intersection suffers from travel speed and poor sight lines, and blocked signage, and comes with many recommended improvements, many of which are currently unfunded. The traffic engineers at MDM point out many discrepancies, not the least of which is a traffic fatality not mentioned in the box study in any way. The peer review notes that a previous fatality occurred at this intersection, as still evidenced by a still displaced guardrail. This intersection, despite its documented poor sight lines, was redesigned to allow Price Chopper to operate their primary business entrance exit with fast exiting Route 9 traffic, and unfortunately has already been asked to dangerously do so much more, including acting as a cutover for many Route 20 businesses, such as Market Basket. Currently, the guardrail is still horribly twisted off its footings to a banana-shaped curve and is over 6 feet away from its intended line due to a fatal accident that occurred prior to the data collection but was not included in the report. I and my neighbors are curious how a traffic study supposedly done with on-site field observations did not notice such a twisted guardrail. In fact, as recently as October 30th, there was a second fatality. So what else needs to happen at the intersection before this becomes a public safety concern? In an effort to better understand and prioritize the many concerns related to the Bach Subaru project, a group of concerned neighbors responsibly met multiple times via Zoom to discuss and agree on what, if anything, was critically important enough to even ask for any consideration or relief from the Bach team. We all agreed that at this stage, public safety and environmental concerns were the only items worth addressing. To that end, and in good faith, the neighbors prepared for and met with the Bach team on November 16th at the Shrewsbury Public Library. By the end of the meeting, many neighbors felt disrespected and our concerns dismissed as crazy, outrageous, impractical, eventually coming to understand that our concerns could or would not be addressed. Traveling the South Street Price Chopper intersection works much like a game of Frogger, for those who are young enough to remember the video game. Trying to get across the 4 lanes of traffic is always an adventure and often does not end well. So we share this email sent to Richard Ricker in hopes that we are truly heard and that our concerns are properly addressed, as it appears there's no intention to do so on their own accord. Richard, we are pleased with all the operational efficiencies shared last night that aid in keeping noise and disturbances to a minimum. Also, the dark sky lighting answered several neighbors' questions regarding the lighting. The information shared certainly seems to support the Bach's claim of trying to be a good neighbor. That said, the South Street entrance is the primary issue that we came prepared to discuss, and a topic which has the most concern. It is unclear to us if the Bach team took what was said as a serious topic or not. Many awkward, ill-timed jokes seem to derail the conversation. The intersection is already at many times over capacity and struggling to keep up with the current flow. That is not to say the expected volumes from Bach will cripple the flow, but introducing any additional volumes, most of which will, in this case, act as oppositional traffic flow patterns to the current flow, makes this a serious safety concern. If the second entrance is required, in fact regulated, for emergency vehicles, then minimally, the entrance, if it remains on South Street, can be clearly marked with monument-sized signage declaring emergency vehicles only. If the entrance is meant to provide additional access and support, then the solution would be to re-engineer the Route 9 access to accommodate the entrance being moved there. We understand this comes with some engineering challenges, but better the changes be made with everything still on a piece of paper. This sort of Route 9 access is not without precedent and works for several other dealers located on the same stretch of road, many of which are dealing with a higher elevation than Bach needs to account for. I realize this request seems daunting, but in the end, we, the residents of Shrewsbury, are the ones who are left to deal with the impact of a poorly designed entrance idea. I look forward to your team's response and resolving this in a way that makes all parties concerned satisfied with the outcome. Thank you in advance for all your support on this matter. To date, we've received no response to that. The alternative proposal of having Route 9 only access is not without precedent, and in fact, after research, all 18 of the dealerships between South Street and Westboro only have that, Route 9 access. Kia and Mercedes, both of which kitty corner, do so with sloped driveways. Route 9 is purpose-built for higher traffic volumes and comes equipped with an eastbound turnaround less than a half mile down at the road at Grafton Street. That is purpose-built for allowing traffic to change direction on Route 9 with no unnatural traffic acts involved. When asked, the Bach team reported they are required to have the second entrance due to public safety. We all agree emergency vehicle access makes sense. So if in fact the town has required this, or the state, we ask that the entrance be purpose-built with emergency vehicles only. This measure will not only provide the required access, but also prevent traffic from attempting to cut across multiple lanes of oppositional traffic, as will likely occur with the original proposed full access, or the repackaged right turn in, right turn out. If this is not a requirement imposed by the town or state, we ask the entrance be relocated to provide driveway access directly on Route 9 using one of the 2 existing curb cuts on Turnpike, on Boston Turnpike. In conclusion, I would say that any Shrewsbury resident in this room who uses the South Street intersection, even infrequently, knows all too well the dangers of this intersection. To be fair, the Bach team might not even think of this as you might even think this is an inherited problem by them. However, a problem, whether inherited or not, is still a problem. The oppositional traffic flows will not only serve to further exacerbate the many problems and will likely come with unintended consequences. We neighbors are formally asking Mr. Clemmie to honor his repeated pledge to be a good neighbor by permanently eliminating the South Street entrance completely with a pledge that it won't be added back at a subsequent meeting. Alas, it's been demonstrated time and again to his future neighbors, to the future neighbors, that self-interest and not public safety may be the choice here. So to uphold such a pledge, we as concerned Shrewsbury residents are formally asking the zoning board and all other town boards to provide all approvals, any approvals, with the proper provisions and conditions to relocate the south entrance to Route 9. This approach has precedent and is commensurate with all other like businesses. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this important issue. And having not been through this before, honestly, I have a whole different sense of appreciation. Thank you for your service. My last comment would be, if it's a right turn in, right turn out, and it only allows people to go to Route 9, what is the difference between that and a Route 9 entrance? Thank you.
Yeah, so we have another person, public, like to be heard. Please step up to the microphone. Your name and address, please, would be good.
If they want to respond first, I can hear it, and
That's
then
okay.
maybe they answer my question.
Okay, that's fine. Sure,
Maybe I can respond to both.
Sure.
go for it.
I'm sorry that I don't think we responded to the email that was sent to me, because I've discussed things with them many times since that email. I may not have emailed them, but the first thing I did when I came into the last ZBA meeting, or even before that, I think it was when we first came in at the last meeting, the first thing I said was, right in, right out. And I thought that was a good resolution to the question of, full use access egress driveway at South Street. Our reasons for why we want it, to have a right out there. And I don't think that it adds, as Mr. Mulcahy added at the last meeting, I don't think the right in, right out adds any traffic to South Street.
Yeah.
I think, I'm disappointed that they feel that we didn't address their concerns, but just to say, I'm disappointed. I would note that Kia, BMW, Audi, they do have side entrances. They do have exits out onto both South Street and Chestnut Street. So, and you'll find that at various auto dealerships all on Route 9. They all seek and get secondary exits. It's important to their business. But in this case, we know, because we're here in Shrewsbury. I use that intersection a lot too. I go down to those dealerships. I represent those dealerships for various things. I deal with those people. I go through this intersection all the time. And I know they use the side exits and entrances on South Street and Chestnut Street. So to say otherwise is just not the case. So again, I'm sorry that they feel the way they do, but we thought we were addressing what their concerns were, to the best of our ability.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
I believe the question was, or a suggestion by the neighborhood was to remove the right in, right out on South Street and replace it with another entrance exit on Route 9. So you would have two curb cuts on Route 9, and I'm sure you can probably answer why you wouldn't do that. Maybe or maybe not, but your engineer's not here tonight. So that was the suggestion I think they were making.
At least from the traffic perspective,
Yep.
the last time that we
Maureen
were here.
McHugh from McMahon
Maureen McHugh from
Associates.
McMahon.
Thank you.
At least from the last time that we were here and had this discussion when the preliminary peer review comments had come in, we had gone over how eliminating the entrance on South Street, everyone still has to come through the signal at Route 9 and still make that right-hand turn to get to the site. So from a traffic perspective, it doesn't save anything, I guess, on delays at the signal. Everyone would still be coming from that approach and through the signal. So that was one topic that we had discussed. And then I don't know if you want me to discuss previously the positioning of the driveways.
Sure.
That's more of a Patrick thing, but I think Mass DOT has some restrictions on how close driveways are to intersections. And
Exactly, yeah.
going through, a green light, it's for driver consistency. If you had a red light and then got a green light to go through, and then there's a driveway entrance
And then you're
100 feet on the
immediately
other side,
pulling
and
over.
you're immediately pulling off. So there are certain restrictions on placement of those driveways within an intersection.
Yes, so I'll summarize.
I would say
I
that we
think. Go
also,
ahead.
we also did order, and we've gotten some of the information that we've asked for from the town. We're still awaiting crash data that we've ordered.
We should be getting it
We
this
expect to get that within days now, but we tried to get it before this meeting, but suffice to say, Ms. McHugh will tell you, but I'll tell you right now, that there is no significant impact on this intersection from the use of New England Subaru. There will be no significant impact, and that is her conclusion. And I don't think that there was any disagreement with that from MDM, frankly.
Sir?
Hi, my name is Abhijit Bhandari. I live at 237 South Street. So I had two questions. One was was based on the response to the traffic study by MDM, by their traffic engineer. They added the comment about the trucks exiting from the South Street entrance to go towards east, towards Boston, right? Which was not originally part of the plan. But on previous meetings, zoning board and with the neighborhood, multiple times they have commented that no trucks would exit or enter through the South Street entrance. But now it seems they have changed, and delivery trucks would be exiting from the South Street entrance. That's the response from the traffic study. So I had a question about that. I see the restriction about the no truck traffic accessing the site. Does that mean both entrance and exit, or does that verbiage need to be clarified that it's both exit and entrance? Also, the timing, I had a question about, because the school buses start there from 2:30 p.m. So if you can think about maybe starting that restriction from 2:30 because of the school bus traffic, because they're right near at the Maplewood and Brentwood entrance. So if there are delivery trucks going there at the same time, that's going to block the traffic. So if you can think about maybe changing that timing restriction starting earlier. That's one recommendation. Also on the repair, the current Patrick Subaru dealership's service and repair times are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I'm not sure why we have it as 6 p.m. here at the new location. I don't know if they're going to change the timings from 5 to 6 and add another hour. So that's another just, again, technical limitations. We can think about the rules changing the timings. The third point I had was about the delivery truck exiting. If the exit is right restrictive, right entrance restrictive, physically restrictive, and I think I got a glimpse of how it's going to look, I don't see how a delivery truck can even take a turn into right with such an acute angle, because you're physically restricting it so that you can only exit in the rightmost lane, and the incline is coming exactly opposite. If you look at the diagram, you can see what I'm talking about. So I don't even understand how it's going to work if a delivery truck is exiting the way it's drawn out right now. So maybe you can shed some light onto that.
As far as the curb cut goes, that was, the sketch that I showed you was drawn by our engineer, and he's comfortable with the radius, and he also ran the fire truck through it, so.
Good.
I can't tell you any more than that. It's an engineering issue, and they're comfortable that they can engineer this intersection so that the trucks can exit to the right. They would obviously queue on our property, on the property, and wait for traffic. We do know from our traffic engineer what the busy times are. Maybe she can address the issue of the school buses, but again, I don't know that is in that busy time that we talk about. I would note that the MDM suggestions on number 11, for instance, it doesn't talk about access, it talks about deliveries via the South Street driveway. It talks about deliveries. That's coming in, not going out. So we can go around and around and around about this, but the bottom line is that our client really feels that they really need that South Street exit. And we would hope that you would understand that. And if you want to hear more from the traffic engineer, because I'm talking too much, please let me know.
Anyone else that wishes to be heard? Certainly, please step up. We're looking for new information. If you could keep your comments brief, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
My name is Xi. I'm from 140 South Street. Just one quick correction about what this gentleman talked about. Other dealership on Route 9 has entrance on the side street. I think those are grandfathered in. When in the old days, the traffic, the residents' settlement situation is a lot different from what is nowadays. So we're talking about different project, a different day, different settlement situation. So we should consider them differently. That's it.
Thank you.
And if I could address that.
Sure.
I did those permits, so I know they're not grandfathered, because I'm still here. But
You're referring to the
I am too.
the fact is
The Kia.
that those projects specifically had those exits as part of the overall site plans when we addressed them at that time, so.
Thank you. Anyone else?
All right.
Hi, my name's Carol Barton. I live at 30 Brentwood Drive. I just am curious about one thing. My understanding on the original traffic report, the intersection was graded E. My understanding is there's a category from A through F. And with the grading of E, I believe, and I could be wrong, it didn't include the 2 fatalities and kind of the current police reports of incidences. So I'm just curious if that additional information has impacted the grade level of this intersection.
Yep, I can answer that. The level of service is the lettering system that we use to grade the intersections. That's based on the capacity and the delay. It doesn't take into account safety. It's strictly capacity and based on the number of vehicles that go through the intersection. So that's where that value comes from.
In our discussions with DOT personnel, the accidents were brought up, and there was no change to their attitude about our use of this site and our traffic.
I think just as a resident of the town, I just find it perplexing how 2 fatalities doesn't make people concerned about adding additional traffic to this intersection. I mean, that's horrific. And I understand all these statistics, but the reality is 2 fatalities recently. And I mean this very respectfully. I feel like it's getting dismissed.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, if I can just make a comment. So I really do share your concerns about this intersection. My parents live on Lamplighter Drive. I grew up there. I drive through this intersection all the time. I agree that it's problematic. I think, and obviously the fatalities, like the proof is in the pudding. There are issues with this intersection, no question. I think the issue that's before us, though, is this development going to make it significantly worse to the point where we need to seriously alter these plans? And I think we have to balance a couple different things. From both traffic studies, it's clear that most of the traffic in this intersection is east-west via the turnpike. If you make it right in, right out to this parcel, you're really not adding any additional traffic to South Street, because to get to the Route 9 entrance anyway, you have to go down South Street. So if anything, by adding that additional entrance on South Street, you're relieving some of the pressure on that turn. People aren't going to have to queue up as long down South Street. And I think the right in, right out and the median will actually improve some of the automobile gymnastics that go on in that intersection, as far as being able to cross 4 lanes of traffic, with your eyes closed, crossing your fingers, or whatever it is that people do down there. So, all things considered, I think, and also the emergency access issue, I think, is a real issue. You know what it's like to sit at that light. If you have an ambulance that's trying to get up there, or a fire truck that's trying to get up there, I don't think you want them, trying to fight their way down South Street to get to the Route 9 intersection to then turn right and go up the driveway. Certainly not if you're the one who needs the ambulance. So I really want you to know that I really do hear these concerns, and I feel them myself, but I think that they're concerns more relating to the intersection than to this development, I guess, is where I'm landing on it. And I hope that the town is taking a look at what we can do to improve safety in that intersection, completely apart from this project. But I'm not convinced from the data that's before us that this project is going to make it significantly worse than it currently is. And I hope that you do feel heard, because we do give our time and we pore over these documents and we really take this stuff seriously.
I do not question your devotion, your support towards the town. I do not. I think it's been challenging because between the different boards, I feel like we've often been told, keep it short, don't repeat things.
Right.
This is our only opportunity to speak.
Sure.
And to be told, keep it short, personally, I don't find that encouraging, and I understand it's a late night. I truly do. I just have another question. I know I keep bringing this up, and I know I think I'm annoying some people, but so you know how we've got the commercial and we have residential, and your bylaws say there's a 30-foot you can go into the residential. And I know they've reached out to town council, and Rowan was very kind and shared the opinion with me. But I just want to stress that it's the town council's opinion that his interpretation is subjective. There's nothing in the bylaws that says you can go beyond 30 feet for a passive use. It's his interpretation based on case law. And he stated that you're allowed to do that if there's nothing contrary in the bylaws. And my argument is the 30-foot restriction is contrary. It says you get 30 feet, and they're 180 feet in. So I just want to mention, again, his interpretation, he himself says it's subjective. It's not objective. So
Go ahead, and then I'll maybe add.
Well, yeah, so I think the board all has that email too, from council, and I think, I hear the concern here. I think procedurally, and I don't want to weigh things down with that sort of, again, procedural language, but it's not necessarily the board's responsibilities to decide tonight. And I think that is part of this larger discussion here, but the zoning enforcement officer does have this final say on the interpretation of the bylaw. And so council was advising her as to how, she should think about that interpretation. And so at this point, it's her interpretation that this stormwater basin is in conformance. And so that's what we'll operate on in our discussions here and as we review the plans throughout.
And I'll just add my opinion. I also agree with the building inspector's interpretation, which is based on town council's interpretation. So this may not help, but this property, for the rest of us, it spans over a commercial zone and a residential behind it. And the appellant wants to put a drainage basin in the residential part. There's a bylaw that says you can, when there's a boundary like this, you can extend a use 30 feet into the other zone, if you will. This basin is not just 30 feet, it's 180 feet. But I will say I agree with town council's interpretation that bylaw, the crossing a boundary bylaw, it doesn't apply because it's not contrary. This is how I view it, and we can argue all you want, but I am telling you as a zoning board member, I agree with the building inspector's interpretation and town council's that because it's a passive use, that contrary bylaw doesn't apply. That's how I view it, and I agree.
But I just want to say, that's not what your bylaws say. Then change your bylaws and put a comma, except for passive uses. Your bylaws say 30 feet.
Well, before that, it says uses. So let me just say one more thing about that. The use of the property in the commercial is retail and garage and auto repair. That use is not being extended. It's this other use, which is a passive use. So please feel free to ask for that particular zoning bylaw to be updated, but it's our interpretation and the building inspectors and town councils that it does apply to this passive use. So that's why I'm just explaining.
I respect that, but I'm just trying to acknowledge that it's a subjective interpretation. So it's not the bylaws.
And that
say-
happens many times.
Yep.
And we go to town council, we pay them for the interpretation, and then the building inspector makes their decision. And we are, in this case, I am behind it. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir, sure.
Again, Abhijit. So this is based on the response already provided to that term access, and as I understand it's access into the site from the South Street, right? That's the interpretation here. But based on the response from the traffic engineer to the MDM study, and I'm reading from the report, delivery trucks will utilize the Route 9 driveway to enter the site, and in order to have direct access to the signal would exit from the South Street driveway. Based on the discussion with the BOC team, truck trips would be scheduled to be outside of peak hours. So then this only applies to exit from the site, right? Not access into the site based on their own traffic study response. I just want to clarify that.
That's us. That's us telling you what we will do.
Can I?
Yeah.
So, the comments that you made before, there were no decisions. There was discussion in our previous meetings about restricting that entrance, the South Street entrance and exit, to no truck traffic. There were discussions about that, but never a decision. And we, right now, have conditions worded in such a way that we're not asking the appellant to restrict that. So,
Can I jump in with a
Yeah.
detail too? And I think this is maybe part of what's being lost here.
Yeah.
I think as we discussed at the last meeting, where their trucks originate from, they wouldn't be coming from the north on South
Right.
Street to turn in anyway.
Right.
So I don't know that we need to make it explicit that the trucks can't enter on South Street because they'd have to be really lost to be coming from that direction if they're coming out of Rhode Island, I think it is, right?
Bristol.
Yeah, so I think that's, I hear what you're saying, but I think it's probably not going to be an issue based on where the trucks originate from.
So are we restricting at all when they exit onto South Street? Because that's my
That's
main
the
Hours.
hours that,
That's
the
the
hours
hours.
that we
I
added,
think
yeah, or you have it up there, I guess.
So
May I
that's the
interrupt?
access to the site. Then that's why I just want to clarify that we are talking about
Yeah.
exiting traffic
I
as
see.
well.
Right, right, right.
From
Maybe
the
we need
site
to-
Madam Chair.
onto South Street.
Yes.
I've highlighted and I've had highlighted this word access. I
Yeah.
believe it should be egress. Is that
Or
or
entrance.
access to and from.
Yeah, access to and from, whatever. Yeah, just to make it explicit that it
I
covers
know
both.
where?
Yeah.
Right, because
So as it reads now, it's no access to the site to South Street. So I believe what
I think it should be any egress,
egress. That's what I'm saying. Any egress from the
From
site.
the site.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
From the
Okay.
site.
right? Any egress
Any
from.
egress from the site.
Right.
And I think that captures
That should be-
comments made as well.
And then the signage makes sense.
right, and
Yes.
again, I would reiterate if you can consider 2:30
Yeah.
p.m. instead of the 4 p.m. And that's something for you to consider based on, because we live there, we know whenever there's school buses there, the traffic backs up like a half a mile, because obviously there.
Well, Floral lets out at, yeah.
Right. So they're going both on Maplewood and Brentwood. Like I have kids, we go there every day, so I can tell you it starts from 2:30 p.m.
It's a long window of restriction, I guess is the
Yeah,
only
I
thing.
Just to comment on that,
Yeah.
that it's probably a very brief peak period of time, whereas the 4 to 6 p.m. is more of your general.
Yeah, rush hour,
peak of
right.
rush hour traffic. So it may back up when there's that flood of school traffic, but
Mm.
typically you wouldn't design around those
Around the school bus stuff.
smaller
Okay.
peak periods.
That's good to know.
High-intensity peak periods, it would be more of the overall peak.
Yeah.
Any other public comment? Sir?
I think, first of all, I don't envy any of you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks.
Mr. McKay, I think you're making our point. Would you want someone you love waiting for an ambulance because they're trying to get down South Street? No, you'd want them to come 140 and go up Route 9 and get there faster.
Yeah.
You would not want them to wait for the traffic that is always there. It doesn't make any sense.
No,
It's plain and simple. I understand that's maybe not the board's mission or intent, but it doesn't make any sense. What impact does it have to not have any traffic on South Street and move it to Route 9? There is none. There's never been any, and we've been arguing it both ways. These folks would like to argue that it's a minimal impact to the intersection. If that's true, then it shouldn't be a hardship. Move it to Route 9. There's a turnaround a quarter mile away. How hard is that? I just don't understand it. Measuring the Route 9 entrance, it's actually further from the entrance, from the corner of the intersection, to go to their cut on the driveway than it is on South Street. And none of those other dealerships that have side entrances are across from Price Chopper with an enormous amount of traffic. I covered some additional ground. I appreciate your attention. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Would anybody be opposed to making it a no truck entrance at all, regardless of entry or exit?
Which is the right thing to do.
Okay,
We all
I
pay a lot.
believe that was discussed
yeah.
the previous meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, and
All
that
right.
was discussed, yeah.
Just the truck.
Okay,
Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
all right. I'm going to need a motion to close the public hearing, if that's what we want to do.
If there's no further comments.
I don't think there's any further comments.
Okay. All right.
Okay, motion to close?
Can I
Sec-
get a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay. Board members, who'd like to go first?
I'll take a first crack at it. I think I already sort of summed up my thinking on it. I really do understand the concerns about the intersection, but I'm not sure that, I don't think that this project or this, the South Street entrance exit, the right in, right out, is going to be make or break for the safety of the intersection. I think it's something that needs to be looked at sort of holistically, and not something that we should expect the applicant to sort of solve. I think this is a problem that clearly already exists. The dealership isn't there yet, and we already have a lot of problems with this intersection. I'm not sure it's going to intensify the issues with that intersection very much if we restrict it to right in, right out physically, and with the hours restrictions that are there. So I'm satisfied with the conditions as they are, again, with total sympathy for where you all are coming from. I really do share your concerns, but I don't think this is, I don't think we're going to solve it through this, I guess is sort of what I'm saying.
Anne?
I was very concerned about the exit right across from Price Chopper and the prospect that people would be turning left. I'm more comfortable with the right in, right out. I'm still worried about it, but my comfort level is now enough to satisfy.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
No, I share the same comments that have been shared earlier. I'm comfortable where the conditions are now, and I feel safe to continue.
Lisa?
I too agree with Peter's comments and Ann's and Kevin's. I am very happy to have this South Street entrance reconfigured to right in, right out only. I think everything provided in the original traffic report, plus the peer review and the response that was given to the peer review, proves to me that the volume, the additional traffic volume we're going to see from this project, I'm not as concerned about safety as I would have been originally. It is not another Price Chopper. I'm going to say that. The volume, the traffic volume we see for Price Chopper is nowhere, in comparison. I do agree that if the two egresses were on Route 9 and there was none on South Street, that would impact the traffic coming west and at that signal on Route 9. And that is why it was designed to have another entrance off of South Street to alleviate some of that. And I believe the right in, right out only has very little impact. So I'm I'm less concerned about that. I am concerned about the, that intersection, but that is a Mass DOT and Town of Shrewsbury problem to solve. I don't believe it's this appellant's problem to solve, and I believe to turn this project away because of that isn't the right thing for me to do. So I'm in favor of these conditions as worded, and I think that's all I want to say.
You know, all of us live in Shrewsbury. We all go through this intersection multiple times a day. None of us are denying that that is a very difficult intersection. Something is going to go here. And I think, make it a point. I know I personally have lost sleep over this, thinking about the fatalities that you have brought up on a number of occasions. None of that is good stuff that we would never want that to happen if we could avoid it. The fact is that this is a site that is going to get developed in some way at some point. And so what I keep going back to is this the impact on Shrewsbury? Is this a business that is going to have less impact than what could be going there? And I feel like the answer is yes, in my mind. I think that we, again, just to be sure that everybody understands, we get so much information put in front of us, and we're required, and I think every one of the board takes a lot of time to be sure to read it, ask questions, comments. We get a lot of back and forth. I feel that at this point, the draft decision is the fairest that we could ask for. And we are all fellow residents of Shrewsbury, and I hope that the town of Shrewsbury and Mass DOT can hear what has been spoken about at this meeting, and we can try to make some changes in other ways, but I don't think that it's incumbent upon us to deny the appellant what he's coming forward to ask of us. So I am in favor. And thank you for allowing me to be long-winded about that. I just want to be clear that we have thought long and hard about this and read a lot on this. So with that being said, might I get a motion?
Yes.
Madam Chair.
So, yeah,
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to just briefly say, I would like to change this highlighted portion as noted, just with a change of egress.
Yes.
I think it's only logical, and I think that was just a type here to say exit. Okay.
Yes.
Final sign of South Street exit shall include, yes. Okay.
Yes, that
Thank
makes
you.
sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Based on our change, and I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt that
No,
No
that makes
question
sense.
for a motion, but
So I'm going
I
to,
think that-
this will be a very long-winded motion. I'm going to read the motion including all conditions. Okay, do you want me to?
Is
Well,
it
I
easiest
think-
to read them
As
off of air,
said-
maybe?
I think you can.
Just say the conditions
As written,
as
yeah.
written? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I make a motion to approve the variance from Section 7, Table 2, and 2 special permits from Section 6, Table 1, to operate a sales room of automobiles and a garage repair shop and to display and store vehicles with a non-conforming setback upon property at 701 and 713 Boston Turnpike in the Commercial Business Zoning District with conditions as shown.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, and again, I'm sorry to take you away from your holiday
Okay.
evenings before Christmas.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, lady, and the board members. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to close the public hearing, or to
Do we have new
adjourn?
business?
Yeah,
Oh.
We have new business.
Oh, Ms. McAllister, please walk us through our new business.
I'll be quick. So two things. We've got an update on the Point at Hills Farm. So we had the final plan submitted to us, and we asked Graves Engineering to conduct a peer review. So he is currently, well, we actually did receive that letter, and that's in your new business folders. you didn't need to read it for this meeting, but for the January 23rd meeting, this will be a new business item, and this is an administrative approval that's written into the conditions of the decision. And I have a staff comment letter and again, this peer review letter, and I anticipate being able to work with the applicant over the next month to resolve any comments that come out of kind of this internal
Final
review.
plan,
So
right.
that will get you the real kind of clean version of the final plans.
Okay.
But wanted to make you aware too that as the board, you've requested a peer review fee from the applicant.
Yep.
You way back in the beginning
Yep.
appointed the planning department to manage those, but that happened between our last meeting
Okay.
and this one. So that's that. And then any questions, I guess, on point?
So
That one's
next
still-
meeting, we're going to just see the final plan and approve them? What is the administrative
Yep, it would
requirement
just
by
be
us?
a vote
Okay.
to approve,
The final
or, yeah, you have 45 days to make comments. So if you feel, if there's any unresolved matters between the applicant and the peer reviewer, that would be presented to you at that time.
Okay.
And you would issue comments, you know, to some effect of, you know, this is not in keeping with the conditions of your decision. And the applicant would be required to amend those, but that would have to come from you as the board. If you're in agreement with staff and or Graves, comments
Then there's
regarding,
no
you know,
need?
then, yeah, then,
Okay,
is that
so
clear?
January 23rd, we see all this, but we have 45 days from, it's really when the final plan is submitted to us.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you'll be getting emails from me.
Yeah.
You'll get the letter, you'll get a response letter from the applicant. I've asked for no later than a week before the meeting.
Okay.
So you'll see everything that's coming,
Okay,
and hopefully we'll get it all resolved and everyone is on the same page.
okay, but the goal is to hopefully approve the final plan January 23rd.
Or you have to make comment, the restriction is comments within 45 days. So, yeah, you can email me if you want.
But
clearer.
if someone's not going to be here January 23rd,
Oh.
who originally was
Mullins.
in that decision, we have to just make sure all that is.
That's fine. It's I wouldn't say, my understanding is that you do not need to vote as the original board that heard the
Okay,
decision. It would just be the board
Okay.
at the time.
that sees the final plan.
All right. Second matter is, we have been working as a team in the planning department to put a online application together for ZBA applicants. So we have currently drafted it. We've gone through a couple different iterations and are working with town council to review it currently. So I have a few slides I'd like to show the board
Please.
Yay.
as an update.
We love slides.
And we love online applications. How wonderful.
I hope you do. I think
Should
the
streamline the process for everybody.
the motivation here is to get things a little bit out of paper online.
Uh-oh, it's not working. Huh?
No. Let's see. We'll close it and reopen. But the motivation is to get this online, to have for both staff and board members this localized portal that we'll go to view the applications.
Great.
So, okay. Keep this brief. Let's see. If it doesn't work.
Your screens appear to be frozen, so your mouse isn't moving or anything.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. All right, here we are. So,
There it is.
okay. I'm going to go through it so quickly. But I just wanted to show you the applicant side of it, and then I'll get to what you as the board members will interact with it as. They would find it here, which is where they find building permits, Selco permits, and soon-to-be planning board applications as well.
Great.
Oh, we're not. It's not advanced.
It's not, yeah, it's not.
Oh,
Presenter.
thanks, guys. All right. We're just going to do it this way then. So
Yep.
that's what it looks like.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to make it
Do the.
do the right. I know.
There's the
should be
screen
here.
icon guy.
No?
Over the, is it
Alright.
under the little pop-up menu maybe?
Well, it's right here, but it's happening on my screen. It's just I can't.
Oh,
Oh, just
share it.
not, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's too bad.
Well, we'll follow along.
Well,
in
this
the,
is great.
All right.
This is great that you guys have worked on this, and I'm very familiar with this portal, and it's,
Oh yeah.
yes.
There we go.
So,
A little better.
are you able to see this
Mhm.
well
Yeah.
enough?
Yeah, I can't
I'll
read
just-
it super great, but
Yeah, we'll get you on board. There'll be an onboarding training, but tonight I'm just wanting to notify you of this upcoming change and get you comfortable with it, with the idea of it. So this is the application closely mirroring the paper version. They
Mm.
select the location from our master list of addresses. They add their applicant name. If they're the owner, they'll provide owner information. Again, this is subject property, zoning district, parcel number, deed book and page of the, yep, and then variance and special permit. I apologize for it being so small. Again, just identifying the section of the bylaw and
Great.
whether any other board or committee needs approval. So we're trying to catch little things as well, just procedurally, description of the project, variance criteria found here,
awesome.
special permit criteria, and then signature. We have a required plot plan feature, hoping that that will encourage folks to get you nice certified plot plans and any other supplemental documents. So,
I have so many questions.
do you, are you, yeah?
you wanna-
Would you
I
like
do, but
Me too.
yeah. So there are some decisions that
It's a
don't.
public
We're
hearing.
saying a plot plan might not be required. Is it smart enough to catch that and all that?
So,
many.
Or
I
yeah,
don't
we,
use it.
we've talked about it. We think that making it required will notify that you do need to submit a plot plan. And if there are projects that don't, they'll be prompted to call our
Okay.
office and we'll supply them with the waiver request.
Okay.
At this point, that was.
How far down, it would be irritating to me if I got 6 pages into this and found out that I got kicked out. So
that you need a-
Yes.
yeah,
I would be
understood.
really
That's good
careful
feedback.
about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to be clear on this, you have to get a username password to get into this site. So
You
if any of
do.
you want to see this, you have to sign up.
Okay.
So I'd
Well-
encourage you to do that.
We'll get you all Town of Shrewsbury logins.
Okay.
So that you can access as sort of the back end viewers. Okay.
Can you save your progress on the application as you go? Great.
Okay.
Wonderful. That's great.
Look at that.
And the idea that it will actually be typed rather than handwritten
Yes.
Yeah, that's
is
right.
such
That'll
a
be nice
big
too.
step forward.
Now, for those who don't have online access, they can still show up at the office and someone will
course.
do
Welcome
it for
to it.
them.
Do it for them, or for a while, I anticipate maybe a month or two, we'll just do
Accept
papers.
paper.
ones.
You know, we'll be flexible with folks for that, but
Is there kind of like a homepage where they can
where they
see
can
this?
see-
Like, if you don't, if not comfortable using this, you can still come to the office, or this is what
Ah.
you will need before starting this. Make sure you have these items because these are
Oh,
required.
yes. I've just wrote that down. I think that's a great suggestion. I don't have that yet, but I will make sure that the plot plan requirement is listed at the front of the application. I'll just say, it's probably far too small. Let me,
This is kind of a weird question, but we don't have like computer terminals in the town hall or at the library that are set up for people.
A
No,
lot of
it's-
towns,
it's
People that don't have
Framingham has it.
access or whatever.
Framingham has it.
we have them at the
Library.
library.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be a nice idea to have one
In the lobby.
Set up.
in the lobby.
The links all there, you know, self-service
Yeah.
kind of situation. Throwing it out there.
Oh, yeah. While
Can I
I'm
have the
presenting,
folder?
you guys want to sign the, do you have the?
We didn't sign
Vote sheet?
our decision. We didn't get
Oh
the
yeah,
vote
we do
sheet.
need to do that.
Can I ask one question about that?
Sure, please.
Please identify yourself.
Please identify
Name-
yourself. You again.
I find that, I have found that, I go online and use
Yes.
and fill it out online, but I do find that the application is a little difficult sometimes when you have multiple requests. So
Good
I
one.
want you to,
Two variants.
I want you to
Yes.
understand
Yeah,
that
that is,
it
yeah.
gets difficult when you try to stack those requests in there, because it doesn't allow you to do it now. So,
For building permits?
no,
Or-
for variances and special permits, for the special
Oh.
permit and variance application that you do
Yes.
now.
On paper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so when I've gone online and done it, you know, I've invariably had to print it and then handwrite in a couple of
Mm.
things, because
Yeah.
I couldn't finish it, so.
Yeah, and we can try to, that's great feedback. We have tried to capture this here, although I'll admit it's not as smooth. So I have you check variance and special permit.
But sometimes you need to say variance.
Multiple. Yeah.
And
then
special
if-
permit.
How many?
And then so right here, if you are applying for more than one type of
I see.
appeal, please identify the number of each
Okay.
below.
Great.
Okay.
So I thought of you when I wrote
We call that the Richard Ricker feature. It's especially designed.
No, I appreciate that, because it does. I mean, you get to a certain point, and sometimes, actually, I've been bumped off, as you know happens, and you sit there and say,
I know.
oh, geez.
Okay.
It's not quite that.
I know.
Probably worse words than that.
So
Thank you, thank you.
yeah.
I think this is a huge step forward, and I appreciate the work that's gone into this, and I think it's really going to help us in the long run.
I think it's going to be very helpful for staff as well. So it gets it out of our inbox, email inbox,
Yeah, yeah.
And puts it all in one place. As the applicant moves through this process, this little these check boxes will change and fill in as they go. So, they'll be able to track my application is being reviewed. It's stamped by the clerk. They'll be issued a confirmation cover sheet. Staff review will happen in here. So instead of me emailing out for comments from Patty or the fire department, they'll have access to this
Input
portal
them.
and put
That's
it right
awesome.
in there. There's a decision template, which I'm very excited about. I'll show that to you
that's nice.
maybe at a later date, but it will autofill
Awesome.
based
Oh,
on
that's
the
great.
application.
That's great.
So
Wow.
I still have to
Payment by credit card?
payment by credit card,
Good.
which does have a fee associated with it. See here,
Water and sewer.
Ooh,
and that is going to be one.
don't like that.
That's going to be one thing. That's at this point. That's how the
Oh,
town's
yeah.
looking at. So,
Talk about that.
but you
You can
are
link the
able
bank
to
account.
pay with cash and
But how would you
checks.
do that?
You'd have to bring it in.
Right.
Okay, so you can spare. Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
All right. So.
okay.
Old school.
This is the way you'll view it if you're the applicant. Someone like Attorney Ricker would be seeing this. They'd be walking it through and going throughout. So, I'm sorry. I have all these, but I think it's clear enough. For staff, for staff and board members, a moment. This is what our internal workflow looks like. So on the back, so maybe I'll show you this one first. This is how you'll view it as a board member. So you'll have an inbox that you'll be logged into, and you'll be able to see it here.
So this will take the place of the shared drive that we use now?
Likely, and that's
Okay.
what I want to understand and get your feedback on. If all documents from the applicant are included
Yes,
here
that's
under
great. It's fine.
attachments,
I'd
Fabulous.
rather have everything in one place.
Yeah.
Too,
Okay.
one place.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want it in two places.
I know. Well, we would keep, we would
One or
keep
the other.
both updated, but it would be more work. So
I think that's helpful.
if you're
Keep it in one
comfortable with the
place.
attachments, okay, great.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
And so here, you would go to navigate to the details. You'd see everything they answered and input. You would see under staff review and comment period, which is right here, you would go and you'd be able to see who commented, what staff member commented. We would not at this point be allowing you to comment, as it would be inappropriate with open meeting law, but
Right.
you can do internal comments to me, I believe, but I think at this point we might still want to just communicate via email for large group notifications.
Mhm.
There's no easy function to message in this
It's probably easier for public record law too.
And yeah, probably. So this is what I'm hoping to implement in February, is a hopeful timeline. I'm working with council right now, again, about what's required here. We're going to see if we can do, things like the town clerk's stamp in this portal as a feature and function of it. But again, we're working to see what is required and what is just standard. So, any big questions, any big feedback, anything that, as you have interacted with this process for the last year or 10? I don't know, Lisa, what are you at?
It's 15 or 12. 12. I'm on two boards. I can't remember which one.
Is there anything that you feel that would be helpful to improve your interactions with applications, applicants, sort of anything that happens before a meeting?
Oh, this looks great.
One of the suggestions I have is just, take it for a test drive internally, or have us do that, to work the kinks out before.
Yeah, for a couple
it
months.
gets shown to the public. 'cause-
Ability test.
Yeah,
That's what I
Yes.
do.
that's where you get your,
So that's, I know,
Your
that's a
beta tool.
great point. We're gonna, so the timeline here is that I'll finalize all the sort of back end little things that I'm still working on, and then we'll do, hopefully, I'll set you up with user profiles. I'll ask you to go online and explore it yourselves, and then in the January meeting, we can meet back in our January meeting and
Oh, and talk about any.
talk about what your experience was.
okay,
sense.
that's great,
Or that happens in February, depending on how quick it takes us to finalize
Yeah.
this.
okay,
Okay.
great.
Well, I think
Is that it?
That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
You know,
for your time.
before we close the meeting, I do want to say, we've been through a lot of heavy lifting this year. And I really want to thank the board and the staff for helping us get here. And anyone that's listening, being on a board does take a lot of time and a lot of commitment. And oftentimes there's comments, from people that are not on the board that have every right to comment in any way that they would like. But I it's like when you read a comment on Facebook about a teacher, for example. Every comment, there's a person behind that. And so I would just say, be kind to your fellow citizens, because we all get you, and we all live here, and none of us want traffic and, no new houses, no new businesses. But that's not the way it works. And if we want a good life in Shrewsbury, we have to get good commercial base. That's going to help us. So that's what we're here to try to help with. But I did want to thank the board and your time and effort, and the staff in particular. And Rowan, you
Yes,
do a
thank
wonderful
you.
job, so thank you.
Of course.
It's fun too.
Yeah.
It's not just.
Yeah.
No, I think maybe after this year, it just feels like no fun at all.
Oh, I know.
Maybe the last couple of meetings just feel that way.
And
But
thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yes,
well,
thank you.
no, thank you guys. We wouldn't be able to do it with all the collegiality that we have. So thank you. It's a great board, by the way. And by the way, if there's anyone out there listening that would like to join a board, there's always openings on all of these boards. So please.
Send a letter to the Board of Select Board.
Select board, and they will find a place for you.
And,
So,
yep.
all right. Well, thank you for appeasing me on that. With that, can I get a motion to close the meeting, please?
Motion to close.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.